Continuing on from last week's episode, I did finish all of the dash wiring off camera, but I did still need to install the rest of the electrical system. I needed to figure out where the relays were going to go, the new bus bars that I got, and run all of my wiring. So that's what we're going to dive into this week on New Yankee Auto Systems. Now that I have the area where I want to mount the bus bar cleaned, ready, and measured out, it was time to transfer those measurements to this piece of strap steel so I could utilize it as a mount for my bus bars. I took my time cutting this piece of strap steel because the last one that I cut, I found if I cut it too fast, it left a heavy burred edge that I wanted to try and avoid this time. Unfortunately, I did have a bit of a burred edge that I still needed to clean up, and I think that's just a byproduct of using an abrasive cutoff saw. But I just wanted to also make sure that my edges, where I was going to weld them to the frame, were clean and ready to go as well. With the edges cleaned up and the part otherwise ready to go, I headed over to my toolbox that I could utilize as a workbench put some blue tape down on the plate so that I could mark where the mounting holes were going to be for the bus bar plate. I wanted to make sure to do this before I welded it onto the car because it was going to be a lot easier to manage that way. Okay, so now I have my bus bar all figured out. I've got it cut to length. This section is just about 7 inches. I tried to make that so it would go in between the bars on the ends, and then I ended up centering this bus bar. What I'm going to use this for is I'm going to bring positive to one side or both of these poles on one side of the bus bar, and then the other side is going to be negative, and make sure that that goes back to a good ground. This will make it a lot easier to hook up all my other harnesses instead of just stacking them on top of the same terminal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my welder after I get it all cleaned up and get the bus bar taken off with the screw and nut together, and I'm going to buzz some tack welds together for these nuts so it's like a captive nut. Alright, so I've got the nuts welded on the back of the bus bar. They're not the prettiest things. I did have to end up doing it twice because 2 of them just kind of broke free as soon as I turned the screws. I had my welder set too cold. I usually end up welding way too cold because, I don't know, I'm afraid of burning through stuff. I'm not an actual welder. I can do it to a degree, but I haven't practiced enough to give myself full confidence to know this is the setting. But that's fine. They broke free pretty easy. I was able to cut the tacks off, and then I got it welded back on pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and throw some paint on this and get it ready to go on the back of the car. I'm just going to paint the backside to protect the welds here. As far as the front, I'll need to paint it at some point, but I'll have to end up painting kind of the rest of the area, and I'm not ready for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint the backside. With the paint dry on the back of the plate, I went over to the vehicle and I prepped for my welds. I had to be very careful welding here because the fuel tank was still installed. Even if I removed the fuel tank, it would create a bunch of fuel vapors in the area. So I just did my best to do this quickly and as covered as possible. So my welds will not look that great here. Okay, so my welds for the bus bar are in. It's relatively straight where I wanted it. I know that the welds are not good. However, there's a lot that I was contending with. The fuel cell sits right here. I had contemplated taking the fuel cell out. However, that would introduce actual fuel vapors into where I would be welding. I did have my fan running while I was welding just to make sure there were no fuel vapors. The most important part of this to me is that it's there, it's solid, it's not moving, it's actually shaking the whole car. I might clean up some of the weld presence, but I tried to make it so that this was just strongly tack welded on there because I'm sure that someone tried to take this track racing again, they'd say, oh, that's not a legal modification. I'm just trying to make this street legal. That's going to be a good spot for the bus bar. I'm happy with it enough. I know that it could be better. I absolutely know the welds could be better. But it was kind of a tough situation that I was put in to weld it there with the fuel cell in, some protectors on it and the fan going, because if I disconnected it, like I said, there would be fuel vapors actually present, and that would be, I think, a lot more dangerous. So it absolutely could be better. Yes, I know. But it'll work. It'll be good, it just won't look pretty. So here is underneath the finished product of the bus bar install. I have over on the left side the power still hooked up to the quick disconnect. I utilized a old battery terminal that I had to add on to the quick disconnect and send power to the bus bar. And then I have my other two harnesses with the power coming in on the left side there, and then their negatives going on the right side. You'll see that there is a fuse holder down there for one of the harnesses and a fuse holder right there. They're still easily accessible. And then I have my ground return down to the battery. And then I also relayed the wire harness and everything in here. Everything is coming along really nicely. I'm spending a lot of time making this a lot nicer than it was, because that is my goal, is to make it as nice as I can. So everything's looking better, but still not finished. But project for the day, the bus bar, is finished and done. So that is all the time that I have available for this week. I've spent a good amount of time over the past couple days here getting all this stuff sorted out and squared out. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a wrap for this week. I'll be back next week. Not exactly sure what I'll be doing. Probably some more electrical. I might even jump back into the fiberglass repairs. I should have a turn signal and horn kit coming as well, so I might jump into those. But we are inching closer and closer to the end of this project. It's not going to be anytime soon, but we're getting a lot of the major hurdles out of the way. Everything else is just going to be finalizing everything and making it as particular as I want to. So thank you for making it this far. Make sure to like and subscribe to New Yankee Auto System, and also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/New Yankee Auto. Appreciate all the shares and likes and comments that we get. Till next time, when we're always doing something.